Yeah. It was kind of a big deal last week. For those of you that were there, that you know. And so before we get into the message today, I've got a couple items of business. The first one is that for those that decorated a trunk and gave so much of their time in preparation and in being there in the cold and rainy, by the way, cold and rainy weather after church last week, we went around, and naturally in my life, I feel like everything's a competition. So we made it a competition, and I have before you a trophy to be delivered to the winning trunk. Now, I believe we have a picture, right, of who won. Is that right? Right? Now, it's hard to tell in the picture. But behind it, there's like this huge doghouse. There were treats for any pets that were brought, and there were many pets that people brought. This is one of our small groups here at Madison Park. So you can see they all participated, dressed up in the cold and the rain, and just had a blast. They were such a joy. And so the winner of this year's Trunk or Treat trophy, and by the way, I don't know, but they added a pink duck on the bottom. I'm not sure what that's about, but it's there. Do I have someone from that group here that can come and claim the trophy? And I see you, so stop pointing at other people. I see you. Yeah, okay. They're all... You know what? And I don't know whether to say congratulations for this trophy or I'm sorry. And you know what? Y'all can just, I guess, draw straws on who gets to take this bad boy home, right? Right. But I am going to do this. Here, come here, Sandy. Yeah, obviously there's a few that aren't here. I did. Do we have to do this? You have to take it. Yes, it's got a duck on it. Okay, I didn't tell you I was going to ask you this question, but I thought that you would be fine.
Oh, we'll find out, won't we?
Okay, give me real quick. Why do you do this? Get your whole small group together, decorate the trunk, like 2 hours in the rain and the cold. Like it's not everybody, does it. So why do you guys go, we're going to do this?
Lisa Cooper. No.
And be honest, we wanted to win.
Well,
yeah.
All right, so we had a personal vendetta.
We're kind
They
of
have
competitive.
Okay, Sandy, when I asked you the question, the answer I was not looking for was that you have a personal vendetta.
Last year we were a little salty that we didn't win, so we were bringing it this year.
Okay, she was salty. They didn't win last year, so they brought it this year. Okay, I think what I was going for here, Sandy, is that there's got to be a bigger reason that you would sacrifice such time.
To show others who Jesus is.
To show people who Jesus is. I'm just going to end it there. Let's just go ahead and say thank you to the group. You're funny. All right, I don't know. You know what? Do with that what you will.
And if you want to beat us next year, start working on it.
Yeah. Yeah, and apparently I didn't know that there was a behind-the-scenes, secret vendetta happening in the life of our church. So now I'm concerned about whatever next year will be. But just to let you know, we'd set a goal as a church that we would have 60 trunks. We ended up having 65. And then we were hoping somewhere around 1,000 people from the community would come, and 940 people came from the community. If you added all the volunteers and everything, we were well over 1,000 people. And in case, those of you that wonder, why do we do this? We really do this to provide something for our community that they wouldn't otherwise have. It's free, it's safe. We get to see people face to face. We get to meet them. We get to hear what's going on. One of the things, one of the little things that we're able to do is notice that there were a few kids that looked like they were really, really hungry. So we were able to take them over and get them lunch at the food trucks and some things like that we were just able to do that probably would not have happened to that day for a few of the people that were there. So for those of you that participated, for those of you that prayed, for those of you that brought candy, this is how much you know Jesus loves us, okay? We literally, down to, the piece had just enough candy. It was weird. It was a little weird, but no joke. So for those of you that brought it, for those of you that participated, it was really, really wonderful. Next item of business is we believe, especially if you're newer with us, this will be new for you. We really do believe as a church that it's important as we're asking you to trust leadership in the way that we lead church. We're asking all of us to kind of trust each other in the way that we move the mission of this church forward. We understand that sometimes things can go sideways in a church when there isn't transparency, when there isn't accountability, and we don't want that to be the case here at Madison Park. And so every year we have what's called an annual business meeting. What that means is that we make available the budget for the upcoming year of 2024. We make available any changes we've made in our bylaws or governance structure, and we make all of that available. And then for those that would want to, after the service on November 19th, they get an opportunity to vote on those things. And on November 15th, which is the Wednesday prior, that evening at 6:30, we're going to hold this year an open Q&A. So if you get the packet and you have questions or you wonder why something is the way it is, or you're not sure what you think about something, or just curiosity, we will be here, myself, the chairman of our board, our executive pastor, and we will answer any questions you have related to the budget and related to the bylaws and things like that, because we just think it's really, really important that we all do this together. So I'm letting you know that. So out in the lobby, there are packets, and there's a table where our executive pastor will be and our chairman of the board will be today. You can pick up one of those packets. They're standing there, and they will be available every single week leading up to November 19th, along with a couple of other elders. If you have questions leading up to that night, they are available, and that's what they're there for. You can always grab me. I am always happy to answer questions, but we want to make sure we all do this thing together. Packets look like this. If you're curious, maybe you're new to this church, am I allowed to vote? Am I a voting member? All of that is inside of here. You can ask questions about who gets to vote and all of those kinds of things out in the lobby. So November 15th, open Q&A. November 19th, voting. Yes? We got it? All right, there we go. Let's jump into the message. All right. Everybody take a big deep breath, from your gut, let it out. Because I'm going to read you something, and I want you to, as best you can, kind of calm your hearts and your minds. Kind of set aside for just a minute distractions or where you're going afterwards or what you just walked in out of. Just take another deep breath. Okay, I'm going to read you this. Jesus said, "Come to me, all you who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light." This particular passage has been incredibly important in my life. Several years ago, it became front and center. Because Jesus is saying, if you come to me and you're weary and you're burdened, he says what? I will give you rest. And then he goes on later in that passage to say, take my yoke upon you, put your head in the yoke. He is on the other side, and that his yoke is easy and it's light. The yoke of Jesus, restful, easy, and light. So several years ago, it's a pivotal time in my life, I read this verse, and I'd read it before, but for some reason, it just really resonated with me. And I remember distinctly in my prayer time reading it and going, then why am I so tired? Lord, I'm doing your work. I'm raising my kids. I'm a wife, I'm a friend, I'm a dog, I'm all of these things, and I sure as heck don't feel light and rested, right? Like, I'm walking through every day, like, I get to 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm like, I'm done. Yet there's a whole other part of the day. My children want fed every day, more than once. I guess our pets as well. I don't care about them, yet I still, right? How many of you, of the 7 days a week, say you generally have the feeling of tiredness, maybe 5 of those days? Okay, pretty much the whole room. The rest of you, I mean, let's chat. I'd love to know. But if I'm a Christian and I'm a Jesus follower, apparently I'm supposed to feel restful, easy, and light. So how does that happen? And when I talk to people, I mean, I'm telling you, 9 times out of 10, how are you? What do you think they say? Whew, busy. I'm so busy, right? I mean, 9 times out of 10, that's what I hear from people. Oh, it's been a busy week. Man, it's been a hard week just constantly. Man, I got a busy week coming up. Man, this is just a busy season. I mean, we use the word season in every season. This is a busy season. Oh, you know what? This is just a busy season. We've sort of taken on that word to sort of cover everything in our life. Why do we live like this? Like, why do we do this? I'm glad you asked. Why do we live a life of running, right? We run through our life. Always, we are connected to things 24 hours a day, right? Like, I love my kids so much. I mean, literally, like, I just want to squeeze them. You know, I want to eat their faces because I love them so much. But, you know, my girls are older now. You know, I have an almost 21-year-old, and I have to check my phone in the morning because inevitably she will have texted me at like 11, sometimes later, you know, because we can be connected 24 hours a day, right? Some of you are doing email at 2 in.the.morning. Like we are going and running, we are working, we are striving, we are reaching, we are full of obligations and responsibilities. We run through this life. Do you know that we have no record anywhere of Jesus hurrying? Not one. Now, we do have plenty of examples in Scripture where people were frustrated with his slower pace. In fact, people were accusing him of being late or delaying, and he was saying, I'm not delayed, you're just hurried. I'm not late, you're just running. When we refer to a relationship with Jesus, we don't invite people to a run with Jesus. We invite them to walk with the Lord, don't we? And we use that phrase, we're going to walk with Jesus while we are running ahead of Jesus in our life. So I read a book several years ago by John Mark Comer. Man, this book ate my lunch, y'all. And he has a quote in this book that says, "Hurry and love are incompatible." Okay, just for a minute, let that soak in. Love and hurry are incompatible. Have you ever been in a hurry and then tried to get your family in the car to leave on time? I mean, right? Have you? Have you ever been in a hurry? I've been in a hurry, and then try to get my family into the car on time. And you know what? I have found I don't sound very loving. My heart does not fill up with loving feelings. And it's worsened, especially when it's like the middle of July, right? And you're in the car. And I'm not the one to be driving, and so I'm waiting on other people in my family to get in the 150-degree car so that we can move forward. I mean, there are just things that rise up within me that are not full of light and life. You know, in fact, I thought, you know what, let's do today? I was debating whether to do this, whether I'd have time. Let's take the time to do it. Anyone else this morning rushing to get to church and you were late because of someone else in your family? Anyone? Raise your hand. Okay. I have a book for you. I have a book for you. This will change your life. It is called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. And believe me, it is ruthless. You are very welcome. Yes. Anyone else late to church today? Because of course, not you. It was someone else in your family. Oh, you're pointing at him. You know what, sir? Here. She sold you out. Okay. It's hard. You can't really rush love. Jesus said the two greatest commandments are to love God and to love people. So just logically, what that means is, in order to show people who Jesus is, we have to stop running and start walking with people. What if a phrase that we often used around here was just, you know what? Take it easy. Right? Instead of hurry up, what if we were like, you know what? Let's just take it easy. Let's just walk together. Let's just learn about Jesus as we take this life at his pace instead of ours. Okay, see, Jesus didn't have to rush, because when you know that there is an eternity that's real and that earthly life is just but a moment, when you believe you have all of eternity, you don't need to hurry, right? If you know that time is merely something that we apply to our life here. But see, Jesus knew, I've got forever. In fact, if you follow me, you've got forever. So let's stop running. And let's start walking. So this series came about, Moth and Rust. Where does the phrase moth and rust come from? Well, it comes from a passage in Matthew, chapter 6, in the middle of what is called the Sermon on the Mount. Jesus is preaching, and Jesus says in his sermon, "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal." Let me say that again. Do not store up for yourself treasures on earth where moth and rust destroy, and where thieves break in and steal. But store up for yourselves treasures in where? Heaven, where neither moth nor rust destroys, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. So this series is 3 weeks. 3 weeks on 3 things that we have got to move from an earthly mindset to an eternal mindset. There are 3 things that we all have. But rather than leading those things, we have let those things lead us. We have started bowing to time, talent, and treasure, rather than taking time, talent, and treasure and putting it at the feet of Jesus and bowing to him. Rather than manage our time, time is managing us. Anyone? That's just me. Time is beginning to lead us rather than us leading it. I did actually, when we were planning this service, I actually didn't realize that this message would actually fall on fallback weekend. And when I discovered that this week, I was like, the angels are singing. And I was like, how generous do we get to be as a church when we're talking about time and I get to say to you, and so we gift you another hour. You're welcome as we talk about this today. It's awesome. Genesis 1, chapter 3. And God said, let there be light. And there was light. God saw that the light was good, and he separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning the first day. So day one, day and night spoken into existence by God. God created time. And God declared time to be good. He instilled that 24-hour period of day and night and said, this is awesome. So what does that mean? If the time that God created, God has declared is great, what does that mean? It means everyone has enough time. That's what that means. Because if it wasn't enough time, God wouldn't have looked at it and said, well, this is good. He would have looked at it and said, not enough. He did that with man. He added women. No, really? I thought that was funny. Nobody send me emails. I'm kidding. I'm joking. It was a joke. Now, I mean a little bit. But he didn't look at day and night and think it was deficient. He said, this is good, which means we have all the time that we need. In fact, let's just seal it. Would you turn to somebody right now and go, I've got time? Tell them, say, I've got time. Look at them, I've got time. Some of y'all are looking at the other one going, no, you do not. You do not have time. Now, according to the passage in Matthew, where we store up our time, where we invest our time, is not always good. Time itself is good. Where we put it, well, that is the question. Is where you store up your time someplace that moth and rust could destroy or that somebody could take from you, or do you put it in something eternal? Creation, by the way, is proof that God is the one who established boundaries as a good thing. The entire creation account is God establishing boundaries. Here is day, here is night, and you don't get to change it. It's a boundary. We have to acknowledge that, receive it, and be willing to ask ourselves, am I living according to the boundaries that the Creator set up? Or have I trying to eliminate all boundaries in my time to the point that I feel like time is in control of me rather than me being in control of time? How many of us say things like, oh, I just ran out of time, and we think it's a valid excuse? We're late on something, oh, I ran out of time. Okay. Oh, I just don't have time, which in essence, that statement alone is just inherently not true, right? Don't we have time? I don't have time. Or this one, which, man, those people who are close to me just know this one is like, grates on me. Time just got away from me, like it's an animal. And you open to the front door, and there went time, right? I have no control. I have no say. I can't make this thing do what I want it to do. It just runs itself, time. My watch goes faster than everyone else's, right? Do you know there was a day when the first sound a person heard in the morning was not an alarm clock? There was that day. It just wasn't to be. I have like PTSD from alarm clocks. Like there's a sound my phone will make with an alarm that just, I wake up angry. So I can't use it. But there was a day that there were no alarm clocks. And why? Because when the sun came up, you got up. And then when the sun went down, right? Well, you went to bed. That's why there were more babies in pioneer days. Some of you will get that later. They were following the boundaries established by creation. Life was dictated by seasons. So you did things in the summer you knew you wouldn't be able to do in the winter. You did things in the winter you knew you wouldn't be able to do in the summer. Seasons, sun, moon, all determined how time was spent. We managed time based on creation's boundaries, and then something showed up called electricity. Believe me, I love electricity. I love me some air conditioning, right? I'm not against electricity, but just for the purpose of this conversation, when electricity came along, now we get to determine our own night and day, don't we? We can leave the lights on till whenever we want to leave them on and sort of live as if it's day and work and do and be. We can do that. We manage our time outside the boundaries. Do you know that you can get anything you want 24 hours a day? I know this because I have done it. I have placed an Instacart order way later than the worker wanted to go to the store for me. Like, we can get anything we want, anytime we want, from anywhere we want. And we get really upset when someone isn't open 24 hours a day, every day. How many of you, I've tried to go to Chick-fil-A on a Sunday and forgotten they're not open on a Sunday. And even though I know that companies made that decision to honor the Lord, I'm still angry about it. I wanted a chicken deluxe and waffle fries. This is what we've become accustomed to. 24 hours a day. I mean, our life is such that if you wanted to, you don't even have to go anywhere. You could live your life in your house with the lights on 24 hours a day, being as productive as you wanted all the time and never even have to leave. People will just, that's the way the world is now. It'll just come to you. We would have no Christmas if Amazon Prime did not exist. Because if I had to find the time it would take to go out and do all of those things at separate places, I would just be so frustrated. So I could just sit in front of my computer and go click, 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 boom. 2 days, there it is. This is how we live. But I'll bet even in spite of all of these things technologically that were supposed to make our life easier, slower. In fact, when some of these things like the internet, cell phones, when they were created, people would talk about, oh, this is so great. Now I won't have to work as many hours on these things because these tools make it easier. How's that going for you? Instead of having them remove work from us, now it's just made us work even more because it's possible now. Yet we're tired. We're tired. So I want to talk to you about two mindsets of time today. I first want to talk about an abundance mindset. An abundance mindset versus a scarcity mindset. Either you feel like you have an abundance of time or you feel like time is scarce. And I want to help us identify which mindset we have. So if you have an abundance mindset of time, here are some filters for you. An abundance mindset says, I have plenty of time. I have plenty of time. An abundance mindset says, I can. When you're asked to do something or someone presents something self to you, you can go, I can. Because I manage my time. So I can say yes to things because I am in charge of time. When you have an abundance mindset in time, you have margin. Margin. Margin means extra. You have parts of your life where nothing is scheduled, where you're not running from here to there, where you're not always late because you have margin. If you have an abundance mindset, you're pretty calm. People who are really, really busy and constantly, time is managing them, they're not calm. They can't, they can't focus because they've always got to get to the next thing. There's a source of anxiety that sort of wells up within them because, oh my goodness, I've got to get this done, got to get this done, got to get this done. This is on my list. I've got to get this list done. And this anxiety wells up within us. Sometimes I wonder if the rise of anxiety and the rise of all of these things that we struggle with mentally, so much of it has to do with the fact that we just do not know how to rest. We do not know how to live within boundaries. And this next one's perhaps one of the most important. If you have an abundance mindset with time, you can be present and engaged. When you're talking to someone and they're standing in front of you and you're talking, but you can see them yeah, I hear you, I do. And you could tell they're not with you. They're not with you. And then you've talked to people they're with you, they're looking at you in the eyes. They don't seem like they have a care in the world, that all they want to do is be present with you. When you have an abundance mindset with time, you can do that. Jesus did that. That's why people got so annoyed with him. He's supposed to be going to save a little girl from dying. And he stops and is present with someone that touched the bottom of his cloak. He stops everything and is present with her and heals her. All the while, people are saying, Jesus, Jesus, we've got to get to. We told them, here we go, here we are. But he's got this eternal mindset that says, look, you might think I'm bound by time and space, but I am not. We have eternity, and I'm the all-powerful God. I will do things as I deem them important. I've got margin. We've got eternity. Stop rushing me. And he was present and engaged. Scarcity mindset. If you have a scarcity mindset with time, you just never have enough time. There's never enough time to do all the things that you have to do and things that you want to do. There's never enough time to do all the things I want to do. Scarcity mindset, the answer is always, I can't. I can't do that. I can't do that. Nope, I can't, because my time is managing me and I've got to go ask my time permission as to whether I can say yes to this or to that, because, I can't. In scarcity mindset, you're always overspent. It's like this with money. It's like this with time. There's no margin because you haven't managed it well, so you've overspent your time. And the stress that comes with being overspent in time is similar to the stress that comes from being overspent financially. There's a tightness, there's an anxiety. If you have a scarcity mindset with time, you're just always worried. Worried about getting the next thing done, worried about getting to the next thing, worried about being late, worried about being on time, worried about if you're going to have enough, knowing I need this much time to do this thing, but I don't have that time to do this thing because I haven't planned to have time to do this thing, so then I just put myself in this state. Is this resonating with anybody? Or you're just all experts at time? When you have a scarcity mindset, every time you have a conversation, you will be absent and distracted. You'll be absent and distracted in a meeting at work. You'll be absent and distracted in a conversation with your kids, in a conversation with your spouse, in a conversation with your friend. You'll be absent and distracted in your time with the Lord because it's one more thing you have to do and you've got to get to these other things, and so you're absent. And you wonder why God's not talking to you. He would love to talk to you, but he can't get you to be still enough to hear. So again, let me refer to this book, The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. So this book sort of emerged from a conversation that John Mark Comer, who wrote the book, had with his mentor, and his mentor had a conversation with his mentor, a man named Dallas Willard. If you don't know who Dallas Willard is, he is one of the foremost authors on discipleship and walking with Jesus. The wisdom just pours off the pages of everything he wrote. And so in a conversation with Dallas Willard, the question was posed to him, how do I grow spiritually? Like, really? I feel like I'm doing all the right things, I'm checking the boxes, but how do I grow? And Dallas Willard's response is written about in this book. And his response was this: ruthlessly eliminate hurry from your life. Hurry is the great enemy of the spiritual life. Just think about that for a minute. Hurry is the great enemy of our spiritual growth. Maybe you think, well, I don't know that I have an overscheduled calendar. I don't feel like I hurry. Let's look at hurry this way. Do you try to hurry up your healing? Do you try to hurry up someone else's process? Do you get frustrated with the timeline that someone you love is on? Are you frustrated because you don't have nearly enough good and enjoyable things in your life that you just want to do for fun? Hurry. It's not just about the watch, it's just about, we live in this world where we just think that we can speed things up that were never meant to be sped up. They just weren't. Remember, love and hurry cannot coexist. They cannot. So I mentioned that several years ago, this book became pivotal for me because I entered this space and time in my life, and I did not follow anything I'm talking about. Not one thing. Like, everything I'm saying to you is what I have failed at miserably multiple times in my life. So several years ago, I was failing at this so miserably that I hit legitimately what they refer to as burnout. Now, that phrase likes to get thrown around today. I'm so burned out. You're not burned out, you just need to go to bed. So I'm talking about where I was stuttering over my words when I would speak. I couldn't form a coherent thought anymore. I had panic attacks in my office before I had to preach. And then I would walk off the stage and I would go back to my office and I would lay down. I couldn't hardly get out of bed. I would only show up to the things that I thought I need to show up to this, otherwise everyone will find out that this is what's going on. And I wanted to keep it a secret because I've got to appear to be productive. I've got to appear to have it all together. I've got to do my job. I've got to do these things. And so I just started to pick and choose. I'll do this and I'll be all the things and I'll rev myself up and do it. And then I would go and pass out at home. And then all of these things. And I just got to the point where I was just broken. I broke. I remember saying to my husband, something in my brain, I know it sounds weird, something has broken. It felt like somebody went inside my brain and went, because I can't function like I would normally function. I'd been trying to rush some healing I was doing with some wounds in my life. I was going, I have to hurry all of this up because I have these things to do and no one has time to feel. hurry. So I had to deconstruct and reconstruct my life. How then, Heather, says my counselor, will you now then live so that this doesn't happen again? Are you willing to get radical with your life? Are you willing to ruthlessly eliminate hurry? Sometimes I've had a couple conversations with different staff members, and we're talking about how to manage your schedule, and I've said to them, I am ruthless with this. They're like, okay, let's do it. I'm like, yeah, you be ruthless with your schedule. I don't hurry anymore. You will rarely, if ever, see me hurry. And if I hurry, it's because there's an emergency. I don't hurry. Man, does it irritate people. But I remember saying, I will never do this again. In that verse, my yoke is easy and my burden is light. I remember saying to the Lord, this yoke does not feel easy, and I am tired of moving in my life forward, trying to lead you, Lord, in this yoke. I want to surrender to your easy, light yoke. So I remember when I was talking to the board and search team in the process of coming to Madison Park. And it was the first time I was going to sit down with the whole board. Jeff and I had flown in for like a quick 24-hour thing. And, I know they've got some questions for me. And so I'm sort of mulling over, what am I going to say to them and what do I want them to know? And I remember we get around, and they're asking questions. I'm answering the questions. And then it sort of comes time for me to just kind of talk. And here's what I said. I'm just going to tell you right now what I will not do in this job. I will not give my phone number out to every person in the church. I will not sacrifice my family on the altar of ministry. I will take every single vacation day I have. I will take my days off. I will leave every day at a reasonable hour. I started telling them, here's what I will do, here's what I won't do, all of these things, and then I just sort of waited. Because I don't recommend this when you're interviewing for a job, to go in and tell them what you won't do. But I was just so determined to do it differently, right? I was like, I've got to take the reins on this. Because don't y'all know, nobody will manage your time for you. Do you know that? No one. And so I told them all this, and of course, because we have a wonderful church here, wonderful leadership, they were actually relieved. They were like, well, that's fantastic, because we would love for you not to burn out, because that's going to be a problem later. I have a calendar, speaking of technology, I have a calendar on my computer that syncs up with my phone and my watch. It's color-coded. It's beautiful. It's color-coded. If I code it yellow, it pops up on Jeff's calendar so he knows I've scheduled something, and he does the same. Because we got tired of each other scheduling things, forgetting to tell the other one. And then saying, oh, hey, yeah, remember I've invited all these people to our house? No. Otherwise, I'm running through life. I had to make a distinct decision to invest my time rather than spend my time. Hear me. Do you invest your time or do you spend your time? Because that determines how you live your life. And whether or not you are investing in the right things. And what should you be investing in? You should be investing in the things that God said was the most important, which is Him and other people. You should have time to do that. You should have time to invest in the conversation, time to invest in the meeting, time to invest with the Lord, time to do the things that refuel your soul, time to do these things that the Lord has given to us. I schedule margin. So this block on my calendar has nothing on it and nothing can go on it. Something will fill it. That's why I've scheduled it. You tracking with me? Something will come up that I will need to attend to. And so I have to schedule margins so that when it comes up, I can attend to it. Otherwise, things happen all the time in the lives of people, and all kinds of things happen. And I want to be able to be a part of it, so I have to schedule that time in, and so do you. I was just talking with some people this morning. I go to bed early, and I'm religious about it. I mean, ruthless. I have a lot of people depending on me in my life, and so do you. You have people that depend on you. And sleep is where your brain gets cleaned. God designed it that way. That's how you're designed. God designed for you to go to sleep so that your brain would be clean. And when you started the new day, you would have a clean brain to work from, rather than a cluttered brain with, it's like when dishes pour up in the sink and they're molded and they smell. That's what happens in your brain when you don't sleep. You're welcome for that picture. In fact, so a while ago, my son, I know that every Wednesday night, Judah has a couple of quizzes that he has every week in a class. And every Wednesday night, I know that that's going to be study time to help him with these things for the upcoming day. I'm a teacher. I don't mind that. I love it. I'm like, let's get out the whiteboard and the flashcards. Let's do this thing. So he comes to me, he's like, Mom, I need your help studying. Totally great with doing that. Well, there were a couple of weeks that would come along and I would go, hey, buddy, you have homework today? And he would go, no, I'm actually all done today. And I would go, that's fantastic. And then right around 9 o'clock, he would go, oh, you know what? I forgot about. And so I said to him, I go, okay, I'm going to help you this time, but then I'm going to teach you something. If this ever happens again, I'm not helping you. I'm going to bed. So I will help you anytime before that, anytime. I'm your girl, I'm in, let's do this thing. I'll give you my undivided attention, but after this time, I'm going to bed because that is a boundary for me. And just because you're living boundaryless with your homework doesn't mean that I have to abide by your boundaries. So, son, I love you and I'm going to help you. I'm going to teach you boundaries. Not very long. Next week. I'm, doing my thing. I'm reading my books. That's what I want to do when it gets late before bed. And he comes up to me, I'm laying in bed and he goes, Mom, I'm so sorry. I just forgot. He does that face that he knows, like that sweet baby boy, my son, the baby of our family face where I just can't say no to him. Like he'll even let his little lip quiver. He's legitimately upset. And he goes, Mom, I know, it's just, I know you said this, but I just forgot. And I went, I'm sorry, buddy. I told you earlier tonight, I reminded you tonight, you said no, so here we are, so you're on your own. So then this last week, I've told him the cutoff time is like 8:30. So 8 o'clock, he comes running to me. He's like, Mom, I remembered. Let's study. You still have 30 minutes left, so let's do it. Right? Like, part of the thing with time is that we actually believe we don't get to make choices. We actually think that we have no agency over these things. We have agency over these things. That's why Jesus says, don't store up things where moth and rust can destroy. You get to decide where you invest. You get to decide, I'm going to invest this much in my work week. I'm going to invest this much in my family time. I'm going to invest this much. And the beautiful thing is that God created something to help us with this. He knew we would struggle. He created something called Sabbath. Now, lest you think this is some kind of bygone, foregone tradition in the church, no, this is actually a biblical commandment. In fact, in Exodus 20, verse 8, it says, remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. But the seventh day is a Sabbath to the Lord. You are God. On it you shall not do any work, neither you nor your son or daughter, nor your male or female servant, nor your animals, nor any foreigner residing in your towns. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them. But he rested on the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath and made it holy. God rested. Is it because God needed a nap? I don't think so. Did God run out of creative ideas on creation? I don't think so. What he was doing was modeling something that we are to apply to our own lives. The word Sabbath actually means to cease striving. Doesn't mean take a nap. It means you just stop running. Stop achieving. Stop producing. Stop relying on yourselves and be fully dependent upon the Lord. God gave us this boundary that it might force us to dependence, because here's what I know. 6 days of producing and striving, I'm far more productive with that than I find if I'm producing 7 days a week. Because God does this thing called multiplication, whether it's your time, talent, or treasure. And when you depend on him and you take a break for a day, he takes what you did in that 6 days and somehow it was enough. Somehow you're no more productive by adding the seventh day. Again, let's look at Chick-fil-A. Do you know that they are at the top of the list of moneymakers in fast food chains, and they shut down for a whole day? And it doesn't matter when you go, the line is to the next block. And yet they still say, my pleasure, when they deliver your food. Maybe there's something to this whole thing of dependence with our time, talent, and treasure, that God can do more with our 90% than we can do with our 100%. What if we don't let other people and the world dictate how we invest our time? And Sabbath isn't about I have this whole day and I sit there in a chair and I don't move. What it is just a day that you do stuff you love. Go for a walk, just do something fun, go to a movie or do whatever it is that makes you have enjoyment. Listen to music, spend extra time with the Lord, cease striving, dependence upon him, and see what he won't do. So there's another book called 24/6 by Matthew Sleeth, and he has this quote. I just love it so much. It says, a weekly day of rest is like Cherry Garcia ice cream and hugs. We can survive without them, but we can't really live. I wonder if some of you need to obediently risk by resting. I wonder if one of the biggest risks of your life is going to be to stop busying yourself so that you ignore some of the biggest things in your life that need tended to. You might have to say no to some really good things, really good, so that you could do the great things. We do this as a church. If you're going to be part of this annual vote, you'll see, even in our budget, we can't say no to everything, or we can't say yes to everything. So we decide, what are the things that God has called us to? What are the most important things that we feel like God has asked us to do? And then we do those things. You can invest your time or you can spend your time. And Psalm 46:10, I have this in my office to remind me. Be still and know that I am God. What's interesting about time is you can't hoard it, can you? There's no bank you can go to and put minutes of your time in a savings account and then go back a year later and now you have 26 hours a day. Time doesn't work like that. And I think God knew that we would need that. This is how long a day is. This is how much time you have. You cannot hoard it. You cannot keep it for your selfish purposes. It has to be intentionally invested. God created time and called it what? Good. And he gave us choice and he gave us free will. Invest in God's word and people. That's what they did at Trunk or Treat. That's what people are doing. Every time you walk up to the door and someone opens the door for you, that is someone saying, I'm going to give an hour and a half of my time to simply open the door for a person. All of those children's volunteers that are down there, the amount of time they give, it's not, they're not babysitting. They're teaching the word of God. They're worshiping. They're doing the things that are raising up the next generation. There are volunteers that go through every single seat in this room in the middle of the week, and they replace the pens. And they replace the connect. They do that. They give of their time. Magic fairies don't come in and do these things. After Trunk or Treat, there were people here that stayed and swept, vacuumed, gave of their time. Literally hundreds of people in this church invest their time into the mission of showing people who Jesus is. Because the Lord matters to them and people matter to them. And so my ask of you is, how are you investing your time during the week? If your marriage is bad, are you investing time? Are you investing time in the things that you want to matter? I get really passionate about this topic. I mean, I get weirdly passionate about it. Because I just think what we could do if we would all make it a practice to sit down and budget our time as we do our money. How much better we would love each other because we wouldn't be rushed. How much less anxiety and worry would exist in our lives. Some of y'all might just need to sleep, honestly. You should go home and take a nap. I don't know. Would you bow your heads with me? Lord, I thank you for this group of people, and I thank you for this church, people who are determined to invest in your kingdom. Lord, I pray that this week there might just be one thing, just one choice they make that's different. Where they say, you know what? I'm going to do this day differently. I'm going to invest in the things that last for eternity. I'm going to stop investing in the things that don't really matter. I pray you'd give us all wisdom as we do that. We need your wisdom. We need your creativity. We need your help. Lord, I ask you just to bless the time we spend serving you, Lord, and to multiply that. Thank you for your patience with us, for your willing to be slow with us. And we give you the glory today. In your name, amen. Would you stand with me? Just a couple of things. Also, just incidentally, I thought I'd wait till after I prayed because prayer didn't seem like the right moment to say this. And I know I made a joke about men and women earlier. So men, I am going to give you a gift. This is for you, not at your expense. Are you ready? This is for free. Do you know that science, the data, that if women get 1 extra hour of sleep, their libido shoots up? I'm just the messenger. I'm here for you. This is for free. It's true. And I know what's going to happen. All these husbands are going to go home and go, honey, just take a nap. Just go, just here. You just go and you take a nap, right? I've got this. And women are going to go, all right. Like, it's true. All right, moving on. On that note, if you're new with us, if you're new or newer with us, immediately following, if you go out these doors and to your left, there is a welcome party just for you. So if you want to know more about the church, and we would just love to meet you, there'll be a few of the staff, I'll be there. And if you just are trying to decide, do I want to make this my home church? How do I get more connected? That's where you want to go. All right, the welcome party, 30 minutes, there's pizza. So if you're worried about lunch, we've taken care of that for you. On your way out, stop by there, and we've got a gift for you too as well, the welcome party. All right, the blessing for today as we leave from here to there. Now may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine on you and be so gracious to you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you his peace, because it's his peace that passes all understanding, guys, and it's his peace that will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus forever and ever. And the church said, amen. All right, y'all, see you next week.